Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar and taking the time away from your workday or off day to listen to our product webinar. It's one of the preferred webinars that Anna and I enjoy doing because I get to showcase some of the amazing work that the engineering team has done over the last little period, as well as some forward-looking statements based on feedback from customers, our customer advisory group, and our product and our expert services team as well. So with me, I have Anna Walter. Anna is our product manager. She works very closely not only with all our other teams, sales, marketing, professional services, customer support, and of course, engineering. So she's the one that actually collects a lot of the requirements, sees where they fit and prioritizes some of the work. So with that said, and I already got some confirmation that our audio and video is working fine. If not, again, just let us know. It is a moderated chat just so that as somebody's talking that we can have time to either answer the question in private or public or then kind of summarize the question. But please do ask questions. Any questions is good with us. And again, I already jumped ahead of the introduction of who we are. So without further ado, we move on to the webinar. And as I said, we have a quick recap of what we've done in the first 6 months. And then I'll take over again and talk about the roadmap for the next 6 months and into next year. And with that, Anna, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Talmo, for the intro, and hello, everyone. Very nice to see you all here. My presentation here is about the highlights of the features we released in the last 6 months, and also some of the stuff which is coming in the next release. You will see I've highlighted them differently on the slides. I'll tell you how. Okay, so let's dive in right away. We start with the data workspace. And first of all, the core of everything, the connectors, which allow us to bring data into ClicData. So we have developed a lot of new connectors in the last months. For example, Google Ad Manager, who has been asked for a lot. We have also Amazon, Vendor Central, Penny Lane, Sage is coming. So you can see some of these connectors have that little star on the presentation here. These are the ones which are coming out very soon. So when I say very soon, it's in the next release or maybe in the next one, in the one after, but it should be next one. So so I hope that these help you in your daily work to connect easier to all your source apps.
Just a quick word on this one before you move on, and it's about the Databricks files. Now this is an interesting type of connectors. We're starting to see a lot of these. They're not the first ones. There's another one. I forget now the name. Well, obviously we have Snowflake, but Snowflake deals with things differently. It escapes me. But we have another connector that has a very similar kind of data lake approach, or basically a lake house, where it has a database portion of things where we can use as like a basic SQL to attack it. But it also has a data lake component to it where we can get files. So in Databricks, we actually have two connectors called Databricks files and Databricks data, better, or SQL, thank you. So you can get to the data. So the idea is that we're trying to mirror ClicData to also have a lake, so that if you have Parquet files or CSV files in Databricks files, similar to Google Cloud Storage or other type of storage, that you can actually bring those across and process them as files, as flat files, or as vertical storage files, and process them from our own data lake as well. So both kinds are possible, or directly into a data warehouse into ClicData. To have those possibilities to us is also something that we see happening quite a bit among all the storage and data warehouse or large cloud data warehouse providers.
All right. So on the other modules, sorry, data flow, as you know, it's our module for ETL, which allows for data processing. So we continuously add new features here. to either make your work easier when you're editing a data flow or adding new nodes with new capabilities. So what we developed in the past months is a feature which allows to copy and paste either specific nodes from one data flow to another, or even a whole branch. So you can really just drag and draw a box around all the nodes you want to copy, and then just using the button at the top, which you can see here on the screenshot. Sorry, it's not this one actually. Anyways, you can use the keys, your keyboard, to copy paste, or use one of the buttons there to do the copy and pasting. And it works across browsers and across tabs. So really useful if you want to replicate just pieces of data flow in another data flow. One other thing we developed was the fact that you can now run only selected branches. So you can now really just execute one piece of the data flow, which is really handy when you are working in very large data flows and you just want to check the output of one of these branches. So that's where it's really helpful. So that's really only in the editor itself. You cannot run selected branches via a schedule, for example. When you run a complete data flow, it runs everything. But while you are editing it, that is possible, that select branch run. What is coming next is checkpoints. We've talked about that before already. Now it's really around the corner. So checkpoints are also there to help you while you're editing a data flow and you don't want to process all the data you have in your input tables, for example, again and again each time you preview a node. So that actually allows you to create a temporary table. The checkpoint allows you to create a temporary table with a certain amount of rows, or maybe everything, all your rows, and use that temporary table to then process the next nodes without having to run everything again and again. So this will really speed up the editing work and also allow for better performances. The other thing we have added, and which is coming, is the import of the legacy objects, fusions and merges. So you will be able to select from the old ETL system fusions and merges and transform them into a data flow table merge or table fusion. And next on, we'll be importing the old views, but that's for the next later this year, and probably presented in the next product webinar. All right, let's move on to data scripts. So we have enhanced the Python scripts in data scripts, but the big news which is coming out now is that you will be also able to run SQL scripts now with the same module and with very similar editing capabilities and features. So you will be able to create also temporary tables and reuse them in the same script or in another one as well. That works with SQL and with Python. And you will, of course, as well be able to use table and files as inputs and outputs of both type of scripts. And the other important thing to notice, I think, is that the SQL scripts will not consume any credit consumption. So it would not consume any credit. Sorry. So you will be able to work if you don't want to do a data flow, for example, because you don't want to have the node by nodes visual representation of your data processing, you could just run a SQL script. And the editor comes as well, of course, with the Ask AI feature, so that you can actually ask the AI engine to generate the code for you, and the code that you want, and then of course edit it if you want. So we've been working a lot on file storage. So that's ClicData's data lake. We have added a lot of features in this to this module. So it was formerly called media and documents. It's really the same thing, but we added new capabilities. So for example, now it supports really all file extensions. You can load anything from PDF to Excel to GIFs to video formats to whatever you want, JSON, and load and store that in your file storage. We also have added versioning and rollback on all the files. So if you upload a new version, you can always come back to a previous one if you need to. And there is also a better integration with the tables and views of ClicData. So you can now import directly through the add data wizard, which you can see on the screen there on the back one, on the back screenshot. You can directly import from files into a table of ClicData. And you can also send files by email to ClicData. So before we had the ability to send data to tables of ClicData, now you can do both. You can send data and files to ClicData. All right, and then on the various different things we've done on the data environment of ClicData. So the API has now a versioning for each of the endpoints. So you can use older endpoints still. That's possible. And if you go to the API documentation, you can see that you can switch between versions and see all the endpoints. Of course, we advise you to use always the more recent ones, but you can as well use the older ones if they are not deprecated yet. Then on the marketplace tables, we have added some new tables. So the marketplace tables, if you're not familiar with that feature, is the fact that you can actually load specific and account-related usage metrics into your accounts. So we added an activity table for data scripts, so that allows you to follow who has actually run data scripts and the activity of data scripts really in your account. On the data hooks, we have added a new action. So when you have a data hook which gets data from an external API and which loads that into a table, we have also a new action now which actually allows you to not only add data into a table or reload a table, you can also now run a schedule after that. So that allows you to add some action triggers if you want to do that. And then finally, on data streams, we will have new output formats for Parquet. So you will be able to stream out any file any table from ClicData to external file storage systems in Parquet format. And also you will be able to stream tables to file storage as well. All right, so let's go to the analytics workspace and modules. So we have this new module which is coming out in July. The big new feature that we are presenting is called Live Docs. So Live Docs is going to be a module that allows you to integrate any data from your ClicData account into documents, meaning that using macros, which you insert into, for example, a Word document, you can then map that macro in ClicData with a table or with any formula in ClicData, meaning that you can integrate, for example, figures from any table really in ClicData in your document. And every time you generate a document, you will be able to, it will actually fetch the current data and insert that into the document. And that document can then be published and shared via live link, via schedule, and also on the app itself, right, on ClicData itself. And so for now, the supported documents are Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And on the screen here, you can see there is a chart, because charts are based on actually small Excel integrations, embedded Excels. So you can definitely use one of these macros and put that into this Excel embedding, and that will generate a chart. So it's a quite nice feature which we wanted to release for some time now, and we are very happy to be able to present it to you very soon. There will be a related and there will be a specific webinar to present Live Docs during the summer, and that will show how to do Live Doc, how to do these macros, and some examples, of course. So if you want to have a better idea of what you can do with that, please do join. We'll be happy to share that with you. All right. So one of the big features that we released as well, and which really changes the way you can distribute your analytics is the status of any dashboard, reports, or live docs to come. That means that you can actually have these objects in draft or in live stages. So if it's in draft, it's going to be only visible to editors of that said object. And so that, of course, they can access it and edit it. And it will not be visible to users who only have viewer rights on these documents. So that means also that if you want to publish a dashboard or a report or a live doc, you will have to put it to live. If you put it to live, if you change the status to live, you will have to choose which version you want to put live, right? So it could be always the latest. So that's the classic setup, I would say. But the big new feature is that you will be able to also choose a specific version, which is really nice, right? If you have a fixed version, which is the good one, and then you want to work on another one, which is maybe not ready to be shared, and you're not sure yet, you haven't finished the charts or your new integrations, you can leave that good version to be the live version and still work on the next version. And once this is ready, you switch the live version to this one. And so this versioning, that works across all displays. So that means whether this dashboard or report or whatever is in the app on a live link or sent via a publication task through an email task, only live objects will be following the visibility rule. Any questions here? Tamo, you want to say something about that? I know it's been it's been a long time since we wanted to release this, so we are very happy with this feature. And the feedback we got so far is also very good. So
I think it was one of the most requested features to make sure that people do not have to duplicate and create new live links, etc., on the dashboards. So I think it's wonderful, and the fact that we're proactively doing it on all the new modules.
Okay, one other feature which has been highly requested is to be able to have images dynamically generated in tables. So this is coming out soon as well. So you have an example there on the screen. You will be able to set one of the columns of your table as an image type, and whatever URL to an image is placed there can be seen as an image. And you can also, you will be able to choose either from a URL to an image, or you can also display an image that is stored in your file storage. The only thing we need is a path to that file. So it's going to be available on simple table and on scorecard tables. And then another feature which is going to be really having a wow effect on your dashboards is the Explain with AI. New interaction. So that's what you see on the top of the screen here. It's a little icon that you can add in any corner of your widgets. So this works on widgets that are using data, things like charts or tables. So by clicking that button, the viewer of the dashboard will actually generate a description or an explanation or analysis of the widget itself, of the content of the widget. And as an editor, you will be able to change things like the language of the output, and also add a pre-prompt. So you probably know AI often is very verbose. Maybe you don't want to have all that big answer, big text generated each time someone asks a question. Maybe you want it to be a bit shorter. So in your pre-prompt settings, you could ask, AI to be short and concise. That's one idea. Or maybe change the tone. Or
a quick question from me. I know this is an interaction on our widgets, but can we also have this on the paragraphs?
So on the paragraphs, we want to have a formula that does the same, but for now it's not going to be available right away. But we're looking into it. The thing is that if we have a formula that actually shows an AI generated analysis of a chart or the dashboard or something, it means that it will generate that query to the AI every time we load the dashboard. So because these queries, they consume AI credits, okay, it's not very expensive, but then still, maybe it's not what you want. So we need to figure out a way to make that viable, I would say, in terms of credit consumptions. So, but it's in the the backlog. Yes, and yeah, we also improved. We added new fields to really all widgets. So these are area fields. So these fields can be filled with descriptions of your widgets. They can also use formulas. So that you can actually describe the contents of each widget, which is going to be readable by accessibility browsers, yeah, and help with the understanding of your charts. All right, and then in reports, we have added charts into the report. So you have two examples here. There are bar charts, horizontal charts, and line charts for now. So you can embed them into any element of any section of your reports. When I say embed, it's because actually you can bind these charts to other data sets than the ones used in your report. So a little bit like in dashboards, when you have calculated columns that use the data aggregate formula, you go and fetch maybe some other data than the one which is used in the widget. It's the exact same idea here. You can always get other data sets into your report, and then of course bind it contextually into the section you are via filters to say, okay, for example, here in this example here, we can see on the screen, maybe that chart for sales in Japan is coming from another data set than the rest of the report. And of course, I have to say at some point to the data that we are looking at Japan here. So I'm adding a filter to my chart. All right, some other things we did as well. So one of the other big features which we are really happy with is the Power BI add-on. So it's an add-on you can download, and that will enable you to have ClicData, your ClicData account tables as a source in your Power BI reports. So you can simply install it, and then when you get the data for your Power BI file, you will be able to select ClicData, and then the table you have access to on your account. It really works like it's very similar to the Excel add-in. Same kind of approach, and then of course it builds your dashboards or your visuals in Power BI using that data. On the security side, we have added different types of authentication, so you can now use passkeys. So if you're not familiar with passkeys, it's a very nice way to authenticate without using any password. Actually, it really uses your device. If you can, for example, use Microsoft Hello, that's the name. If you're on PCs, or you can use your fingerprint. So it's a nice way to connect to ClicData. It adds security as well, right? Because it's really bound to your device. You can also use Google sign-ins now as another authentication type. So if you're signed in your Google account, you will be signed in your ClicData app as well. And to allow for all these different new authentication types to live along with each other, we also have now enabled the fact that you can have multiple authentication types. So if you have multiple users in your account, some are maybe using SSO, some are maybe using passwords to log into ClicData, you can now manage these authentication types in parallel. On the homepage, we have added a lot of new features. So I'm talking here about the customization of your home screen when you log into ClicData. So I'm not going to go through all of these elements here on the slide. But basically what you can do now is select exactly the items that you want to show. You can also show reports now, which you couldn't before. You can show binders, dashboards, and you can order them in the way you want. You have multiple types of visualization in a grid format or in a list format, and you can also sort and order them with tags, etc. So a lot of new features, and as we had before already, you can choose a default home page for all your users, or each user can define it for themselves if they want to. On the Help Center, we have improved the search engine. We've heard your complaints about the fact that it's difficult to find the right answer on the Help Center. We have also been through a long work of updating all the screenshots and the content, so it's still going on. It's going to be finished soon. And we are also adding new links in the app itself to the Help Center, to the right section of the Help Center, so updating that. And we also have added a new specific permission in the roles, which you can see here on the screen. So if you tick that box, the help box, it means that users who have that permission, which we have that role, they will see all these contextual links in the app to the ClicData Help Center, which basically is really interesting for editors in your editors, meaning people who are actually able to edit connections, tables, dashboards, etc., and who may need some information on how to do things on the app and might be happy to have access to the Help Center. So just enable that.
Yeah, just box. On this, and I'm already putting a little bit into the future, but part of this work is really as well to prepare us to load our help system plus a few other things into a GPT-like model that we can provide more contextual help within the application, but that the actual will know how to do certain tasks. But a little bit more on this later, but this was necessary work to get to that fit as well.
Yeah, thank you, Tamu, for reminding, because that's true. That's all the work is actually that's the end aim for all this work. All right, and then just a quick reminder where you can find AI across the app. So on tables, you can ask any question through AI, and I personally have really tended to use it a lot now. Recently, you can really just ask any question. If you know your data, it's really easy. You can almost type some SQL-like queries, and it really works very well. The AI answers back fine, and you can see the query which has been generated. So if you don't like that query, if you think, oh, that's actually not exactly what it should be, because I know that my column has maybe an uppercase here, and the AI wouldn't do that correctly, you can just, correct it and get your query good and get the answers directly on your table. So it's really an exploration tool, I think, which is handy. And then in all the editors, you have the Ask AI little helper everywhere where you have code that will help you to generate the right syntax for your queries, for your filters, for your data scripts in Python and SQL, etc., etc. So so more is to come, of course. We want to use the power of AI in more places and get all these repetitive tasks being done faster and easier throughout the app. So we're advancing into the integration of AI into ClicData.
So with that, I'm just going to talk about the platform roadmap now. You're seeing here a visual that we've released a couple of months ago. We haven't made it highly public. It was on the new launch of the website, but this is really how we're placing ClicData and where we're headed. Our goal is really to make the life of the person that has to work with the data easier. Now, you saw and potentially were surprised as to why we did a Power BI connector or a add-in. Isn't that sort of what we do? Well, no, that's not what we do. That's one of the things we do. And if you do prefer Power BI, and that there's a lot of good reasons why to do it or not to do it, then great. Hopefully, ClicData can help you in harmonizing your data into one central location without having to jump the hoops through all the different licensing of Microsoft and technology modules that you need to get into. If you already have a data warehouse and it's clean and it's ready, and you want to use this on the database side, you can. If you want to use this as a data exchange to bring data from one side to another, you can. Again, we are a platform that you may not use all the modules that we have or all the functionality areas that we have, but we have a lot in here for all data analysts and scientists and engineers in order to solve their data problems, which in turn we're hopeful that it's going to solve your business problems. We have kind of a vision of different pillars of areas where we want to be. Number one is we want to be more than just dashboards. That I hopefully is clear with the new vision. But what I mean by that is not necessarily that, oh, we want to do other things other than dashboards. But our vision for dashboards does not include just putting output charts and an output of data, but actually being more interactive and being more mini applications, if you will, mini screens, which can include data entry, data inputs, and interaction and animation. And to that extent, our dashboard V2 is going to go above and beyond just being a dashboard tool, but rather a screen of widgets that are interactively and that connect to each other and other things outside that you don't see, the data sets and even other objects, but also that give you more power to build applications and mini applications and low code or minimal code applications right on the screen. Things like the data form module is coming as well. The ability to batch enter data and to have strong validation of data. But other things as well with outside of dashboards. But the concept of separating the widgets from dashboards. If you have an application and you just need a widget, one chart, you should not have to build a dashboard for that just one chart. And you would also want to create reusable charts, that a widget catalog of different components that you can use throughout your dashboards and potentially, why not, in reports. We also have this vision of being multi-cloud and multi-storage. Right now, your data warehouses and your data lakes are stored within Azure and SQL Server, either hosted by us for you or you host it, but it's still SQL Server. We want to have more than just that. We are in the final phases of testing PostgreSQL, which is looking positive in terms of performance and in terms of the things we can do today with SQL Azure and SQL Database that hopefully we can do with Postgre. So we're testing that out thoroughly, but also we're looking at, well, in that case, we can also potentially host this on Amazon if a customer prefers to be on an Amazon data center, potentially for data movement charges. It lowers the cost of data movement as it's not inter-cloud, it's intra, and as well as more choices of regions, although in this day and age, Azure and Amazon are pretty much in every single country anyway. So we're looking at that one specifically, as well as making the platform more modular in the different regions to increase performance. So that is something that we're working currently on. Mostly the new dashboard V2 is our key priority, and PostgreSQL. So I've already talked about some of these items here. The dashboards is V2. One thing that we're going to re-add back into the dashboard V2 that I didn't talk about, other than the animation annotations, is the concept of an infinity data space. For those that were with us from the very early days, we had an infinity data space, which is something that we may come into in a later version of Dashboards V2, which is really a data document that you can really use for exploration. Insights is nice. It's an okay tool for pivoting and grouping data, but it definitely does not have the same power as something, for example, like Jupyter Notebooks or some type of a data document that you're trying to formulate thoughts from A to Z. So this infinity data space is ideal for brainstorming. And it also opens up this VR concept and really large data screens exploration, something that has always been kind of near and dear to our early development days. Now, on the not dashboards piece, Live Docs is the first module. So dashboards are not the only way to share clean and proper data information or visualization. We have a lot of documents, Word documents, PowerPoint, but also Google Docs, Google Slides. And we want to start integrating directly into those documents. So you use the power of PowerPoint, for example. You draw your company identity, you have your beautiful charts and beautiful logos and theme of the PowerPoint, all you need is you're trying to avoid having to copy and paste data every day and type the data in on those charts. So we have now with LiveDocs the ability of producing these documents automatically for you by putting the macros in the different slides, in the different charts, in the different tables, etc. But going above and beyond that, we want other types of documents that we haven't even, we talked about Google Docs being potentially one of the next one, or Google Sheets, or Google Slides. Data catalog is the ability for us to create master data catalogs. So basically, a metadata for your data, where we basically have an abstraction of what it means to be, for example, revenue. And you can define revenue at the account level and say, well, revenue comes from this table and it's this column and it's in this format, etc. And this is the description. And by the way, it's not GDPR or HIPAA secured, etc. Social security number, yes, it is on this table, it's this column, and you will not show it. It's encrypted. We show it in an anonymized way, and it's also GDPR protected. So you can start classifying the data, protecting it, abstracting it, anonymizing it, and building a catalog for your company of metrics and column and basically data classification. Data forms, which I touched upon, which is the ability to create forms online as mini applications that you can embed in dashboards, similar to our data form widget. It's kind of the V2 of that on steroids. And of course, to continue to improve our mobile app has received some minor love, mostly because the technology is still not there. Basically, that's the bottom line. We've tried different technology that was promised to be cross-mobile compliant, and we always hit a wall somewhere along the line with it. And again, in order to optimize our costs and to optimize the cost to our customers, we refuse to cater to multiple different types of technology. So we don't want to code for the Android Model 1 and Windows device. Oh, hold on. Those don't exist anymore. So that's okay. The iOS devices in Xcode or whatever new technology Apple imposes on us, we like to have one technology that we can improve quickly. We're also having a local sync app. Now, some of you have used the Data Loader app. I'm talking about a data sync app. Now, you can install this on your Windows or Mac. We're not going to offer a Linux version. You can think of this like your Dropbox client, or as your, what we use, OneDrive client, where you can tell which folders on your laptop you want to sync with the folder of either data of tables or on the file storage of your data lake. And it's basically a passing tool, basically a synchronized tool view of certain files that you have on the database or tables, or that you have on your file storage. And it allows you to create automation simply by dragging a file into a folder on your local laptop or desktop, and the file gets synced to ClicData, and then the data gets loaded automatically, or dashboards get produced, etc. You could also potentially start receiving data as well from ClicData on your desktop in real time, as well as outputs of dashboards, reports, and so forth. So it's really a broker between your desktop, your laptop, and the content and objects that you have in ClicData, but without having to export or copy and download and all these things. So we continue to migrate towards the C# .NET XX version that allows us to create better apps in the sense of power, performance, etc. It's not that our current technology is bad. It's just that .NET framework, the old one of Windows, is no longer really a good choice for us. But the side effect of this is that we're at the same time modularizing the platform. so that we can deliver better functionality and faster functionality. But at the same time, it also allows us to run the code on Unix machines. And this, to us, represents a reduction on costs and an increase in performance. And these costs can be passed on to our customers. So we're very much investing in this for a long-term future of the platform. We talked a lot about multi-cloud. We're looking at Amazon strongly these days, and also to have more application services around the world. We're growing, and it's okay to continue to increase in the region. Our East US region is one of our largest ones. But why not also distribute the traffic to the West Coast, for example? So we need to look at those things, and that's one of the things we need to do. We've talked about the new databases. I talked about Postgre, but we're looking more into developing vectorial ones. And things that we're looking at is what is closer to LLMs and machine learning. Vectorial databases allows us already to be one step closer to the ability for an LLM to pick up this data and to start looking at the data in a more structured way. These are still long-term objectives on this vectorial one, but definitely the Postgre is definitely our next one. The other one is also, now that we have file storage, is why do we have Parquet files sitting, having to put them on file storage, but then having to put them onto the data warehouse? Maybe I want to do an analysis directly against the Parquet files without having to first put them into a table, a SQL table, whether Postgre or SQL. So we're looking at technologies like Apache Iceberg or similar concepts. Apache Iceberg is not really a technology, but a framework. But we're looking at that type of ability to query the files as if it was in the old days ADOP, but it's kind of the new version of ADOP. So we're looking at that as well to avoid the middle step until such a time, of course, you need to put it into a data warehouse. Now, this is AI, and this is the right title, so this is great. We started looking, we obviously started actually with the middle one, the data assistant. We start putting Ask AI a little bit all over the place. And that's fine. Because for two reasons. Number one, it's secure, right? We don't send the data, our customers' data, or our data for that matter, to the LLMs. We use Azure OpenAI. And even though it's our own and secured and we don't feed the model, it still feels that we're sending this out and kind of we don't want to send this out. So we're looking at ways that how do we make not the scheme of a table so that it can build a query for us or help us with the function or correct the data, but how can we actually give an LLM that is private to one of our customers the ability to look at the data entirely as a big pool of data so that you can ask questions about your data, not about give me the top 10 customers, but tell me exactly which customer is not performing well, that exhibits this property, etc., that it has access to all the data without building a query necessarily and bypassing the query, the typical database engine model, and having to have this translation between data and LLM, and then always having to go through SQL. We should not have to go through SQL. When we ask a question about a PDF document, it just reads it and understands it. Well, why can't it do that with our data, right? It's even better because it's already formatted in some sort of a tabular version. But of course, we can't move all that data to the OpenAI from a security perspective. It would be absolutely cost prohibitive. I mean, if it takes us a couple tokens to get an answer to a query, imagine what it would take if you send 1 million rows of 50-column tables to the LLM to process. The cost alone would deplete your credits within the first 1,000 lines, most likely. So we're trying to see how we can incorporate actually LLMs, individual LLMs or core LLMs for customers that are only trained on separately for each customer if you want to enable this module. With that, We can then also have functional agents. Now, there are some functional agents which we will train with ClicData. How do you build a dashboard? How to build a widget? How to make a connection, data flow, etc. Now, this is part of the reason why we start improving our help system, because we want to be able not only to tell you how to do it and say, oh, you need to go here and then do this and then do this, but actually do it for you. It makes no sense for us to to put out a little 10-step thing on how to create a dashboard. Why can't the model do it for you right away? So we need to train it on how to use ClicData. Then we get into the data agent piece, which needs definitely access to the data if, again, you choose to do it. But it can do so much more in terms of answering your questions, as well as multi-step things, right? So those are two main areas. The last one, which is a subset of the AI agent, is the AI connector. We have a very powerful web service. We have a GraphQL connector. And if we are training the agent how to use it, you should be able to ask it, create a connector that goes to, HubSpot and brings me this, this, and this. And then you can create the connector using the HubSpot connector that we built. But potentially you could create new connectors. If we train this agent, if we build these agents to know how to use the code that we built, to authenticate, to process, to paginate, etc., it should be able to create your own connectors, your own unique connectors that you can have in your account, or extend using existing ones that may have certain features that allows us to extend what we currently offer. The near future. Now, you've seen a lot of the stuff that Anna put out already. Some of this stuff is already here, the Power BI plugin, Postgre, SQL data warehouse, forecast and predictive data flow nodes, that's coming a little bit later, not on this release. Data hooks to include emails, data hooks to include, this is a bit later on, to include MQTT service buses and things like potentially trickle stream data. Improvements to the data lake, you've seen already some of those. More connections, we definitely have more. One big area that we've already started working is the loading of EDI. I'm not sure we talked about that, Anna. It's probably something that's coming this year still, is the ability to load EDI documents. And with that, also PDF, both structured and unstructured PDFs, unstructured being images or that we need to do OCR. SQL data script is coming. Delta Lake and Delta loading, that's an interesting one for us to start doing, so that if you are used to using Parquet files, that you can actually do partial Parquet files uploading. Live Docs, it's coming out. Data Forums, a little bit later. AI agents for task management would be one of our first AI agents. You will not see these, but we will see them, and you will help us greatly manage the tasks that you issue to ensure that the tasks get done. The master data classification, so this is the data catalog module, using Parquet directly from file storage. We have a couple connectors that we haven't done yet this year, but I'm hoping to get to them. The Stripe connector, I talked about the EDI there, and a couple more data flow nodes, such as classification and clustering, and then a few more AI agents. All this plus the other stuff that we always do, improvements to the dashboards and the dashboard V2, obviously. And I know the question probably, I haven't seen the public chat yet. I'm trying to avoid to see the questions. But of course, the question is, when is dashboard V2 coming? And, I can tell you right now that, and I repeated this earlier this year, that, we have to be patient on that one. We want to do it right this time. So sometimes we have to go back a little bit. But, I really want to get it out in Q1, Q2 of next year. So that's kind of my hope, that we can bring it out in Q1, Q2 of next year. So that's our timeline. Other than that, I believe I'm done here. Yes, I am. So now I can look at the public questions. I'm gonna cringe, am I? Okay.
There's a question about conditional flow in data flow and parameterization as well.
That's really good. So yeah, that is one of the things that we continue to discuss. There's more recently we brought that in. It's the concept of workflow. We've always said data flows is about movement of data, enriching the data, filtering the data. Basically saying, I have this data here. I want to be like this, right? Whether it's grouped, etc. So data flows as a very data-centric processing. And if you think about it, it makes sense because working with data is not necessarily the same thing as task management. Where we're looking at is kind of looking at the workflow editor. The workflow editor is really a hybrid, if you will, or a combination of what we have on the schedules right now. We have schedules. You can trigger a schedule saying task 1, task 2, task 3. There's no branching. There's no conditional flow control. There's no on error, do this instead of this, etc. We thought very long and hard about putting that on the data flow, but at the same time, we're not comfortable doing it there because the data flow is really optimized to process data. And by us to put coding and tasks in the middle, we're just slowing down the data processing piece. So we're thinking of a new module that is really an extension of schedules, if you will, but it is a separate module called workflows that allows you to say, I'm starting the task either manually or on a schedule. And this is the first task, this is the second task. Then if this task fails, go here. Or if this value on this data set is this, go here. Then send an email, send a Teams notification, publish a dashboard, refresh the data, run a data flow, run a data stream. And then when you end it, send me a message or whatever. This workflow is really basically where we want to get to.
There's a question about which I partially answered already.
Yes.
About the fact that the widgets, and people want to be able to replicate changes on the widgets and dashboards across multiple.
All of them, right?
Yeah.
So this is the core of V2. This is definitely the widget catalog that we're building, but also the ability to, when you create a widget in V2, and the way we've designed it is that you create the widget and you say, okay, I'm going to use the widget in these dashboards. But the data will be different, the style will be different, or the filtering will be different. So, or none of them will be different, or some of them will be different. So the idea is that you can either copy them, embed them in other dashboards, and stop the editor of the dashboard from changing the style, or even from changing the data. Or you can customize the data, or you can customize the style, or you can customize the filter, but not the style, and vice versa. So all these three combinations will be possible. So that when you embed, you can really enforce your rules. No, nobody can change this widget. It's always like this in all the dashboards. So then you don't have to change. You don't have to change the. You only have to change it in one place, and all the dashboards will have that.
If you have questions or feedback, you can always send us an email to product@clicdata.com. We'll be very happy to discuss these with you. So don't hesitate. We always love to hear from you guys. And so I think we will wrap it up then.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thanks for presenting the work done and what's coming out in the next release. Wishing everybody a very happy day. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.